This piece comes from a 3 CD collection and book called Annunciations. It was a project that I began with a poetic rewriting of 3 texts. One of them was the Joint Task Force Guantanamo Standard Operating Procedure for Camp Delta, the prison camp in Guantanamo, Cuba. The second was the 4th Assessment Report on the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, published by the United Nations. And the third is the piece I'm going to read for you tonight. It's based on the Columbia Crew Survival Investigation Report published by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. And it's called Belly into Fire. We emerge from a fiery wound, bloody and wailing, and move for a time between vacuum and the light, between laughter and the dust, between ashes and the wind, as quickened presences set against the nothing, before returning to a shallow darkness carved into implacable silence. Herald of thunder, herald of smoke and jagged tooling, herald of debris and earthly din, herald of wailing absence, as I speak of 7 stars burning, 7 stars falling, 7 tarnished stars pinned upon the torn firmament. 7. Today I sing of 7 who drifted belly into fire, who tumbled into a thickened present, 7 bearing witness, torsos marked as those who would hasten to the stars, to the stars. 13 hours, 52 minutes, 5 seconds, Greenwich Mean Time. 7 slip through antholic winds, shearing apart nothingness, proclaiming, we are, enthroned like gods upon the flaming chariot of the sun. Yet men, their tiny ember illuminates only emptiness, as dawn debrides the night from the rising blue horizon in the 8 minutes that remain. Q bar 34, yaw moment off nominal. The doom moment rises this doomsday above the awakening Thanatopolis. Bright in the southern sky is fire. Holy fire enters unfettered, seeping into a darkened plenum. The burning bright arc eats and eats, corrupts and consumes. Commander, Seat 1, holds the synchronous rotating spheres that unleash an ever-widening gyre, activating switches, validating data, streaming multiple frames into the voice loops far below. Commander, Seat 1, maneuvers role reversal number 2 as alloy pyrolyzes in the belly starboard, as liquid transmutes to gas, 4 pressure sensors off-scale low, as separate, redundant hydraulic systems fail. 13 hours, 59 minutes, 32 and 126,000 seconds. In ever-increasing atmospheres, evident upon data reduction, in a final uncorrupted downlink frame, a machine enunciates its warning, off-nominal, corruption, error, and loss. Aileron trim plus 3 degrees. Elevator deflection 8.11 degrees up. Calibrated above Sonoma in Video Archive Mesquite, Video Archive Arlington, events occur, brightening, puffs as the form ablates, pieces fail and fall. Now alone, entering the chasm between uplink and downlink as shock-shock interaction accelerates. The plasmatic arc severs bundled hydraulics, flight control systems go slack. Littlefield, Texas, the Bill Clayton Medium Security Detention Center, the world's largest windmill, immortalized by debris shedding event number 1. The nose drifts high through the degree seconds, CMD and PLT watch. Seats 3 and 4 watching, the horizon shifts. The master oral alarm sounds, the spin begins. A slow, highly oscillating flat spin characteristic of ballistic flight. PLBD sensor BP0439T indicates off nominal increase, followed by loss of signal, followed by debris events A, B, C, rolling, pitching, yawing. 04 and 82 hundredths seconds. Increasing rotational forces push eyes in, eyes out, eyes up, eyes down, eyes left, eyes right, eyes in, eyes out. Seat 2 moves the left rudder transducer assembly. Seat 4 fumbles with the 5-point buckle fallen between seats 3 and 4. Eyes left, eyes right, eyes left, eyes right. CP Seat 2 switch positions indicate subsequent AP unit restart, seeking residual pressures, showing remarkable aplombs capable still of human action in the violent push-pull, yet there is zero pressure, zero quantity. Aluminum 2000, 2024, 2219, 2124, vaporize. Debris event D as the left wing separates, 14 hours, 0 minutes, 18 seconds. PLBD tear from the body of the craft. There is darkness mid-deck, displays go blank, comlink silent, crew visors up. There is shouting and confusion. Here is the enunciation of the survival event. Burning plasma surrounds the craft, feeding upon its precious metals. The X.582 bulkhead buckles, folding the starboard mid-body panel. As the four-body CM skins, splice, and zips, the starboard X-link fails, and the craft is torn in two, tumbling over Texas, past Nogashus, past Hemp Hill. Video Apache captures a double star in a bright blue sky as gravities shift, creating large, instantaneous G-force events which remain within the range of human survivability. Conscious and alive as the pressure vessel shifts, crushing four-body volume E, perforating the CM. There remains 6 seconds of useful consciousness before blood boils in this dark place, illumined only by the red burn of plasma shown through the triple glazed windows and the glow of the cyanolume suit lights as star-covered flight patches found in storage locker B spew out over the Texas plains. Slumping forward as if to work consoles, as if to activate controls, as if to speak, as if to scream, held to seats by lap and crotch restraints as a giant invisible hand takes them by shackled legs and shakes right, left, up and down in the dark interior of the tumbling, rolling craft till bones smash and skulls crack inside their polymer casings. Now, little is known. Ground-based video lost, data inexistent as they enter the atmosphere. Friends and lovers, shipmates and fathers, mothers and children sucked out into the debris cloud as the middeck departs from the forebody, tearing asunder seats 6, 7, 5, entering the hypersonic blast, watching with sightless eyes the mid-deck floor, aft FD panels, CM forward bulkhead, flying into a molten cloud as mortal trauma number 2, the mechanical extraction from seats occurs no later than redacted, boots failing, redacted, the souls stripped away as pressure suits oxidize, and they are naked, naked, naked. They are falling, falling to earth, to home, falling, falling, falling. 14 hours, 35 minutes. Total dispersal impact, all debris. So this project involved that recreating of the 3 texts, and then I recorded them, and then gave them to 9 electroacoustic composers in Canada and Europe and the United States, and they took those recordings and recreated new musical works out of them, and they're available for sale. The next series of text I'm going to be working with Larry. It's from a book called Solitary Pleasures, and it was a project that I worked over a year, creating each day a new text, and picked out about 42 of them to create this book. Each day is a short poem, and you'll hear, of course, the dates all become clear. May 6th. The street's trees sprout into spring, a green so tender I can't look. And this afternoon, a moment of sun between cloud and rain, arms so pale, a shock of red hair, passing in a moment of awkwardness. I must have stared, unaccustomed to the warmth. May 15th. At the Anarchist Book Fair, there are anarchist people of color and anarchist queers and anarchists from Ontario and Winnipeg and the Centre-Sud. There are anarchists live on air and others painting banners for a march up the hill to bait the rich. I've bought a red cloth patch that reads Class War, a coffee, and a ginger cookie. Looked at the wares and walked home to take a nap. May 21st. After the union meeting, with talk of bad times ahead and a fruitless visit to the Cinematheque to reserve its cafe for our 5 à 7, I spoke with Leo. 5 hours of chemo yesterday, 2 hours the day before. It's a job, he says. First the chemo, then the radio, then surgery. Now, till Christmas. Down 25 pounds and losing his hair. We didn't speak of death. But what bastards those producers are. And how I threw my back last weekend, reaching under the table to catch a ball of dust. Patrice Desbiens watched a man die, saw the life stream out of him like the breath in a child's red balloon, held, then released in a gay moment, its erratic flight and guttural speech babbling out of rubber lips. Fascinating, till its collapse, inert, amidst the streamers and torn wrappers, surrounded by bored cops and passers-by. May 27th. July 2nd, day after Canada Day, 2:27 a.m. Everyone's still awake, the street alive, shouting in makeshift drums, smashing bottles. I was puking and crying and crying and puking. It must have been the acid. After the parade, 2 stragglers, stupid drunk assholes, they cried. Stupid drunk assholes. Then silence. August 30th. 2 pale stars. New tattoos. They are kisses from absent children. Hope and perseverance have a forearm each. She tells a story of a junkie friend who lost a bit of life on each cold return. He digs graves and is committed to junk, his one love forever. He once found floating in the soil a perfect human skull. Now her only son can't wait to grow old and dig graves too. September 30th. Past Coteau, the night train rolls inexorable into Canada. Yesterday, a woman died on these tracks. Her car stalled. Other dead include 3 Israeli soldiers, 20-odd Palestinians, more than 1,500 Haitians, 400 gone in the floods that swept away Gonaïves. This train speeds through small-town Ontario, past lone farms and level crossings. Red warning lights dart like the flight of souls on the short path from memory to oblivion. By morning, we'll be amidst the living, shoes shined, hair combed, we'll walk another day amongst them. October 11th. Through the naked maples, whose branches are picked clean by gusts of northern wind, I hear cries. Overhead, flying high, I see the ragged V and the straggler who pushes, seeking his place at another's wing. It is his cry, the constant calling out to each and to the all. Together, together, we are together, we are together. So Solitary Pleasures was a book and a CD project, and we had the happy idea of writing out each of the poems with a mismatched set of lead type, which took a tremendously long time. You can see. Get closer. The next project is I'm going to read just a very short portion of. It was it's a 12-hour and 10-minute poetry reading. I've done it several times now, and you know, I'd be happy to do it here next. It involved the creation of several hundred pieces, and I thought, I just want to present these all at the same time, and so I did, and as I was telling Carolyn earlier, that the first 4 hours, I thought, wow, this is really fantastic. Maybe just something extremely slow. Just at the edge of the top. So one of the things about this was that it involved the writing of these several hundred pieces, and I thought, well, there were days when I didn't write anything. In fact, there were weeks and there were months when I didn't write anything. And I said, well, I want to retain that, I want to be true to the actual experience of the creation of the work. So in that 12-hour experience, there's long periods up to several hours where I don't say anything. But I'm going to do a more lively section for you all. May 12th. Another red hourglass collapses, lolling across the cutting board, bleeding a venomous puddle of spondees and exhausted metaphors. Aging flower children flee, barred from fractious homes where parental instruments honk and a fire claims a muddy no-man's land. In the quiet, we rise slowly from shifting trenches as small pink blossoms spatter across our cold blue shields. May 14th. Another day shambles towards paid, from grasslands to Hudson Bay. The executive director of homogeneity applies tough love to the wound, a sticky, toxic salve, paid with debts of back alley splendor. Pessimism festoons dinner with its strings of synthetic flesh. We need a change of address. The celebrations must stop. Good night, we cry, asphyxiating under drooping moral fiber and so much, too much. May 15th. A tenacious heritage of erotic conflict suppurates in sparsely furnished rooms. Scrofulous upholstery beckons the unwary. A bone felon waits for strangers in the hall. On the herniated terrace, all is gruel under warm rains of cassava and sago. From the latifundium on the hill, squeaky priapisms radiate like Schreber's sunbeams, leaving countless phenomenological delusions and downright lies gleaming in the ruddy wake. Larry's kindly volunteered to do the presentation at Owen Sound, which you just have to imagine that piece 100 times longer. And without the benefit of Larry's work. But, no. So, recently I've begun the happy task of writing my autobiography, my poetic autobiography. which I'm going to, was a very chaotic life. And once, I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment / kennel on Duluth Street with 3 canine roommates, the pets / children of the rich hash dealer in the apartment on the 3rd floor. Once, I recognized the sound of the impact of the body of a young native man under the wheels of our Santa Fe-bound train. Once, I rolled thin, compact joints of blonde tobacco and Nepali black hash, each with a filtered tip of rolled card from a package of Riesler rolling papers. Once I settled in a foreign country by mistake for the period of one whole adult life. Once I seemed conceited, arrogant, pompous, smart aleck, presumptuous, smug, vain, and egotistical. Once I damaged the front quarter panel of my late Uncle Paul's car in a collision with the foundations of his house. This after a couple of shots of whiskey and beer, a few days before my departure on a cross-country trip, first to New York and then to California. Once I passed out in a college dorm in the thrall of a perfect circular stain of tequila. Once I agreed with the necessity for the armed struggle for liberation in the United States of America. Once I marched with thousands through the rain in a vain protest against another war. Once I turned 58, unsure of the consequences. Once I waited at 3 a.m. for the next bus from Cleveland, Ohio to Buffalo, New York, in line with a young man with a briefcase empty save for a pair of mismatched socks. Once I placed my finger, but only for the briefest of moments, in the flame of a candle as proof of nothing in particular. Once I expected the nightly implosion of the walls of our apartment from the nuclear apocalypse. Once I slept for free beside a wild brook on the side of a mountain in a national forest in Vermont. Once I laughed at the old and their pathetic nostalgia for better times. Once I needed a briefcase to feel the part. Once I gained 100 pounds in 3 decades. Once I experienced the sensation of my whole heart, its each and every discrete muscle and nerve so alive, just like the tip of my cock at the moment of orgasm. This can go on for a long time. Once I drank the Romano, an espresso with a twist of lemon at the Cafe Trieste in North Beach, a block away from Vesuvio's and city lights. Once I screamed out poetry to a crowd of drunken and belligerent punks. Once I enjoyed the theme song to a cartoon about a jovial, larcenous bear in Jellystone Park. Once I knew all the state capitals and the names of 36 presidents. Once I stood alone and reckless on the icy edge of snow-covered Half Dome in Yosemite Park, California. Once I bought a pound of Oaxacan wheat for $90. Once I attempted an escape from my psychic restraints in a lonely hotel room on the Rue Soufflot, across from the Pantheon, with a copy of Wilhelm Reich's Listen, Little Man in hand. Thank you. Thank you, Larry. Thank you.